Welcome to Fox's Farmstead. We thought we'd show you a little bit today about what the morning move looks like. We have the chickens here on fresh grass. We just moved them from the spots that they were on yesterday. We've had a nice long progression through the pasture here. They've been laying down a good bit of nitrogen, good organic soil building matter, which is important to us. This property that we're on now, we bought as a foreclosure. The house was foreclosed on, there were possums living in it, it was really rough, and the pasture was in fact just a patch of woods. We can see through aerial imagery that it used to be a really lush pasture with some big beautiful trees, but the owners neglected it for 10 years or so, and it grew up into a big oak wood. And so we cut those down, we left some of the choicest trees so we can have sort of a silver pasture going on here and keep the polyculture alive. But at this point we're rejuvenating the soil. The soil was very sandy. There was some good decomposition that was happening with the leaves under the trees, but for the most part it was sandy. We live in Florida after all, so that's what this soil tends to. So we're laying down a good layer of nitrogen here. We've seeded heavily. We've seeded bahia grass for our warm season crop. We've seeded three kinds of ryegrass, an annual and two perennial kinds of rye, and some white ladino clover. So our goal here is to inject nitrogen into the soil and to get this pasture nice and healthy for all the future batches of chickens that we're running through here. We've also got goats on the back of the property, and we're looking forward to clearing more of the land as we go, and the goats spend a good bit of time up here. We alternate them off and on to keep the grass level low enough for the birds. They like it high but not too high so they can do their foraging. These pens that you see behind me, we built and we altered a design that we saw from another farm in Florida that was operating well for them. These are welded pens made out of galvanized 3/4 inch EMT for the hoops, and then the bottom runs are top rail from chain link fencing. And so the bottom squares 10 by 10 square, and it's much more substantial than the hoops, which provides some extra weight on the ground for predator protection, and it gives some good rigidity to the frame. Now the hoops, there are only 4 of them going down, and then we have a nice light tarp go into the hardware cloth. These coops only cost about $260 a piece to make, which is a little on the high end of what we had hoped for. However, they're extremely durable. They're very, very sturdy. They're going to last us a long time. And we were able to customize them just how we wanted. So we have some hooks on the back here. These hold the pressurized water line. We've got a low pressure line that runs to each coop and feeds the water, so we're not dealing with slopping 5-gallon buckets around. We're not dealing with schlepping those buckets as we try and move them day after day. Instead, we just hit a quick disconnect. We coil up the line right here and a couple of fakes, and then we move the pen and hook it back up with a quick disconnect. It works really well for this small scale intensive moving that we're doing. We also designed a little feed trough that hangs in there so that we can keep our labor each morning down as much as possible. Typically we have to feed 2 or 3 times a day, but we're only feeding once a day into those troughs, and the birds can have as much as they need all day. We're in a sort of 12 on 12 off situation where the birds eat as much as they like during the daylight hours, and by the time night falls they've eaten all the feed. So we're not overfeeding them, but instead giving them free choice all day in addition to the forage that they get. We built this set of forks with an axle and some tires on it to allow us to move the coops easily. The immense amount of leverage that we have on these makes it really easy to lift these coops. They're already very lightweight. They're only about 130 pounds a piece, even though they're made out of galvanized metal. The metal tubing is really lightweight individually, and so we pop these wheels under, lift and drag, and the weight of the coops could be a concern for predators, but fortunately we have several lines of defense there. We've got electric fencing around the perimeter of the paddock. We have a guard dog who lives here. Her name's Kuchka. She's a Karakachan. She's a Bulgarian guard dog breed. And then we have our goose. He's a French breed. He's a Toulouse goose. And originally he was going to be part of our little egg flock as their defense. But since we moved the egg birds out here with the meat birds, he just kind of wanders free. He has free roam of the property, and he has a little duck friend that he picked up along the way, and he's an excellent guard. One of the things that we consider most important about what we're doing here is that it's regenerative in nature. We're taking what's old and we're making it new again. We're taking the cycle of life and death that has been naturally presented to us, and we're capitalizing on it. But we're not capitalizing on it for our own financial gain. We're capitalizing on it because it's beautiful and because this is a way of life that we're interested in maintaining for ourselves and for our children. This beauty that we see around us is something that we want to be able to capture for ourselves in our own short lifetimes and to share with others as well. We're not interested in putting Tyson out of business. That's not a long-term goal of ours. We're not trying to fight the man here. Instead, we're doing something completely different and offering a small, beautiful alternative to a handful of people who want it and who want to join us in that.